I began writing about John Paul II in the Seattle Weekly, of all places, within 4 or 5 months of his election. I found him a fascinating human personality. I thought his first encyclical, Redemptor Hominis, the Redeemer of Man, which was the first papal encyclical to articulate a full-blown Christian anthropology, Christian view of the human person, was really exciting and was getting at some of the most urgent problems of the time. So I continued writing about the Pope in a variety of venues, some of them in Seattle, some of them national, throughout the 1980s. He had a pretty good intelligence network, and I think came to the view that I was one of the people who were interpreting him in the United States, along with Michael Novak, Richard John Newhouse, in a way that he thought was accurate and we could explain him to an American audience in a way that made sense to that audience. So when we come to the early 90s, and I decide to write a book which eventually was called The Final Revolution, The Resistance Church and the Collapse of Communism, on how the Church and the Pope had shaped the events of 1989 to 1991 in Central and Eastern Europe. He had a pretty good sense of who I was. And our first serious conversation came when I presented him with a copy of that book, which he had already read in page proof through the intercession of a mutual friend of ours. And I think he liked the book not because I had made him the hero, that would have been out of character, but because I explained how a transformation of culture had led to a transformation of politics. And that was his view of how history really worked.